Hello and welcome back to the Full 10 Yards Betting Podcast. This is the second time I've said that after some technical difficulties in that first intro. I'm Liam, your host, and as always, I'm joined by our favourite co-host who wins everyone all the money. He is, of course, Mr. Touchdown Tips. That is Adam. Adam, how you doing, mate? Best weekend of the NFL season last weekend, and apparently this should be the best Sunday of the NFL season. Everyone keeps telling me.
I mean, yeah, technically, I'm not too happy with two of the teams are here. They're not the most exciting, and they're probably the ones who are going to make it through. But it is what it is. Fingers crossed, we should get some good games at least. Yeah, I quite enjoyed the Sunday games last week. I was out Saturday, but caught the Sunday games, and they were exciting enough. I just obviously when your team gets knocked out after a promising season, it is a little bit tough trying to get back into it all when it all kind of gets this time of the year, but you know that's what betting's for. Makes the games a little bit more interesting.
True. Betting makes it more fun until you lose, and then it's less fun.
Yeah.
But we're not going to lose. Exactly. Yeah, we are on a roll without attempting fame. Me and you went between us. I think we went 10 of 12 between me and you, which I'm deliberately saying the 10 and 12, not the full 18, because Tim unfortunately went 1 of 6 last week, his worst week for some time. He kept trying to go against me. All the picks were opposite to mine, and one of us was going to lose. And unfortunately for Tim, that's him. But we're back this week, and we are also upping the pick count. We technically have 8 picks each, so we can go out 24 this week. However, we are picking the line, the total for both games, touchdown scorer, and a best bet. So we are going to go against each other in line and total. So we'll see who has the better weekend. We're going to go in chronological order. So we've got the Commanders at Eagles first, then followed by the Bills at Chiefs. So first game, Commanders at Eagles, Tom Brady on the call, who now has a new head coach in Pete Carroll, which was the breaking news today. So we'll see if Brady mentions that on the call. This is obviously the third game of the season between these two division rivals. I think they're 1-1 as well. But Jalen Hurts did leave that second game with injury. So Kenny Pickett finished the game. So did lead to it kind of being 1-1 is partly because of Kenny Pickett. And Jane Daniels obviously looking to be the first rookie quarterback to make the Super Bowl ever, and then potentially obviously win the Super Bowl ever. So yeah, could be an historic year for him. We're going to try and not spoil our picks, but I want to ask you how you're feeling about this game in general. Are you looking forward to watching it? Do you think it'll be fun? Like, what are your general thoughts on this game? So I think you'll probably hate the second game because my team's in it, but what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah. This one to me looks like the more interesting one. It seems like it's the more exciting. Obviously the Commanders they've exceeded all expectations getting to where they are this year. The only worry is obviously, as you say, it's a divisional round, a divisional game. It's the third time they've played, so obviously familiar opponents, and that does tend to lead to lower scoring eventually because they figure each other out. But I think Daniel's kind of rushing ability is gonna be the key here. It's difficult to stop a rushing quarterback, like as the Bengals show every year with Lamar. You know what he's going to do, but trying to stop someone that hyper athletic is not easy. And I'm hoping something like that will happen this week, and they'll be able to move the ball, and then it'll force the Eagles to have to play a little bit.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, obviously Jalen Hurts' dodgy knee. Coming off the concussion as well, bit of a favouring his knee. I think that kind of might make the game more fun if you're pro Commanders. But yeah, I agree with you. I do wonder if they start the game fast, could the Eagles have to be forced to come out a bit more and make the game a bit more entertaining? I think the weather obviously won't be as bad as a factor. It's going to be cold, but we're not going to get that level of snow we got in the Rams game, because even though that made the game more chaotic, if you're pro Rams better or pro points, it was kind of killing you a little bit with the fumbles and stuff. But this week the weather's a little bit more calm. So yeah, we'll see. I'm kind of with you that I do hope the game's entertaining. I am hoping that Jane Daniels makes it fun with kind of running around a lot, big plays down the field, and then hopefully get a few Saquon and AJ Brown plays as well, because we know those guys can light up a game. So I'm hoping it'll be a fun game. I'm glad this is the games are this way around, because then I can actually enjoy this game without worrying about what's happened in the other game. So yeah, cool. Like I said, we are going to go through the picks. We're going to have the line, total, touchdown score, and bet. So the line at the moment is Eagles -6. The under/over in this game is 47.5. It has been fluctuating the line from 6.5 to 5.5 all week, but the total stayed pretty steady at that. So I'm going to pass to you first, mate. Why don't we go line first? What are you going to bet for best bet on the line in this one?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fairly close game. So the Commanders +6 is the bet for me on this one. It's difficult in my opinion. Like the Eagles' offense just is it's fairly shallow at the moment. It's basically Saquon. The passing game is 3 players, and that's it. And Hurts, he was accurate last week. Fair play to him, but he was taking a lot of sacks. He was holding the ball a lot, and he just doesn't seem right at the moment. He obviously since the concussion, as you said, against the Commanders, it seems like he's kind of just a little bit too slow on it all. And frankly, I thought he had a really bad game. Although he was 15 out of 20, and the 5 that weren't complete were all to AJ Brown. Um, so maybe just not targeting him. But AJ Brown does very well against man coverage, and that's what he's going to get here. So he might be able to bounce back for the first time in a few weeks. But yeah, I do like the Commanders. They've obviously exceeded expectations by some way this year. I think they would have been happy just finishing third in the division, let alone getting to the conference game. You've got Brian Robinson ran well last week for the first time in a few weeks, but that was against a very poor Lions defense. So I don't expect him to have that kind of game. I do like Austin Eckler, rushing and receiving. He's been doing well out the backfield and racked up a lot of yards against the Eagles in the regular season. And I think they've just got a little bit more on offense. I wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders win. And obviously, from a neutral point, I do want the Commanders to win and make it to the Super Bowl. They have the higher totals between these two teams in hypothetical matches in the final. So yeah, I'm very pro Commanders this week.
Yeah, I think most people want them to win. Yeah, I think I'd probably want them to win for 2 reasons as well. One, because they're more fun, and B, I think that would be an easier Super Bowl for my team if my team got there.
Yeah.
But I do feel like it'll be a more entertaining story. And the game, I think, if they win, will be a high-scoring, fun shootout type of game. Whereas if the Eagles win, it could be any type of game. So yeah, I'm with you. And the bets do reflect that. Me and Tim have both gone for Commanders +6 as well. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing when we're all on one side, but when we are picking the sides in 2 games, it's probably likely to happen in one of the games. And yeah, we both gone for Commanders as well. I'm similar line thinking as you. I think if Hurts was fully healthy, I might go the other way. But I've seen the practice videos. The reports don't look great. He's not moving that well. He didn't look great in this 4th quarter against the Rams. So I think the offense is going to be a lot of Barkley, which is good for him. And they'll get plenty of yards. But they got 200 yards last week and barely won on the ground. So for me, I just think Hurts won't be able to run it as much, and I'm not sure his down the field passing game will be anywhere near there if he can't set his feet and throw. So I just think the Commanders could outscore them and could win the game. And I could see them losing by a field goal, but again, the +6 just gives us that security that they can lose the game and we can still win this bet. So yeah, similar lines of thinking to you. And I know we mentioned it a lot last week, but they do go no huddle a lot, and the Eagles defense is really good, really aggressive, but they sub a lot on the defensive line. Now you can't sub on the defensive line if it's constant no huddle and the Commanders are just going to leave the same players out there. So for me, I think that's going to be quite important. We know Jalen Carter will play loads of snaps, but apart from that, I think if you're having to just leave the same defensive line in for a 13-play drive, I think that's hard for the Eagles defense. So I like the Commanders as well. Cool. Under over then, 47.5. We've also all gone the same thing here. So we've all gone over 47.5. The Commanders games do go over a lot. They're one of the most highest overs teams of the season. I mentioned the kind of high-powered, no-huddle offense that they run. That means they get a lot of plays off. They go for it a lot on 4th down. And the Eagles actually go for it a lot on 4th down as well. So both teams try and score a lot of points. Both teams are quite efficient on 4th down. So I'd imagine when they have a drive, these teams might score some points. I don't think we're going to see loads of punting. Even though I don't love Jalen Hurts at the moment, I don't think we're going to see much punting on either side because I do think the Eagles can run the ball all over the line, so all over the Commanders. So yeah, for me, I think over 47.5 is the pick. I would have liked 46.5, which it was earlier in the week, but 47.5, I think, should go over.
Yeah, as you said, with the running, Saquon's had over 50 carries in the 2 games against the Commanders, and he's hit nearly 300 yards, 2 touchdowns in each game. So, yeah, I think it's safe to say they're probably going to be loading up on him. I wouldn't be surprised if they've been practicing the tush push with him, getting the ball to him. just to try and save Hurts on the goal line. So it's no surprise that Barkley's down at 4-9 for a touchdown, really. But obviously, we're not going to suggest that. It's a very good chance of it happening, and I'd be amazed if it didn't, frankly. But yeah, it's not one that we're going to recommend. Yeah, we've all gone the over. We've all gone for points, and it should be fingers crossed. Like as you said, it relies on the Commanders here, really. It relies on the Commanders getting the points because I think the Eagles will be able to step up if they can, but they would rather control the game with Barkley. And yeah, it'll should be an interesting one either way. Obviously, amazingly, last week went over 50. I'm not quite sure how they reached the over on the total last weekend. It should have been around 40s, and then it just went crazy at the end of it. So yeah, this week, fingers crossed, Commanders win, high scoring, fun game.
There was a lot of points as well in both the NFC games last week. To be fair, a hell of a lot of points. If you are someone that does think the Eagles can win, but you do like the over, please shop around. But Sky Bet, they do a handicap and total points market, and often the line isn't actually the same line as what the real line is. So they've gone with Eagles -2.5, and over 47.5 is 13-8. And I do actually quite like that. If you are someone that thinks the Eagles will win a close game, I would not be doing the other side, which is Commanders +2.5. That's too risky. But Eagles -2.5 and the over 47.5. I think is another way you can play it. Cool. Let's go on to touchdown scorer then. We've all gone for different people in this one. So why don't you start us off?
Yeah, unsurprisingly, we're all on one side of the ball as well. As I say, with such a shallow Eagles offense, you can't take Barkley at the price. I don't want to do Hurts with the injuries. And then AJ Brown and Devonta Smith are just too up and down for me. Dallas Goedert wasn't a bad price, but I've gone for the other tight end. I've gone for Zach Ertz for the Commanders. He scored last week. He's 3-1 to find the end zone this week. He caught 5 passes in the. I'm going to say the only real game between these two, the one where Hurts played all of it. He caught all of his passes in that one, and he scored a touchdown in the regular season against the Eagles as well. We saw last week Tyler Higbee dominated again, third choice linebackers of the Eagles. He had, I think, 7 receptions in the end. I know he had 3 or 4 early on, scored a touchdown. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Eagles try and target that area as well. So yeah, at 3-1, I thought the odds were pretty good. I will shift on to Tim's as well, just so you don't have to do it. Tim's gone for 21-10 on Brian Robinson to run one in. Obviously, he's been a bit dodgy the last month of the season. He's kind of fallen off a bit, but he will get the goal line carries, and he did score a couple last week. So maybe he'll have a bit more confidence, a bit more bounce in his step now. And yeah, again, 2-1 and above, I think is pretty good odds for the main running back for a team.
Yeah, he looked a lot better last week. They ran the ball in general a lot better. I know they're missing their Sam Cosmi, their right guard in this game, so we'll see if that affects things against Jalen Carter. But he is. You're not going to find many starting running backs who are getting most of the goal line carries at that price in a playoff game. So I think that's a good shout. Your pick of Ertz was one of mine as well. There's a couple of picks on our sheet that you guys put that I really like that I didn't want to just copy because with the spread and total, we're kind of all copying on each other anyway on those. So I wanted to go different from you. So I've stayed away from Ertz, but I do really like the price. I've gone for the QB again in that game. I would have gone for either if they were both healthy. I would have even maybe a both bet. I would have quite liked. But I've gone for Jaden Daniels. 2-1 is the best bet, the best price that I could find. He did let me down last week with this, but that kind of only makes me more confident. I think that he's going to hit it in this game. The Eagles obviously play a lot of man coverage. They're a very aggressive defense. I don't think the passing game is going to be as open as it was against the Lions. So I do think Jaden's going to have to scramble a bit and kind of run away from Jalen Carter, and I think that could lead to a touchdown. And I went back and watched just before this morning, watched the game from last week, and there was 2 red zone carries, zone read, where Jaden didn't keep it. He just let the running back have it, and I'd just be interested to see if they throw a different look this week and Jaden keeps one and scampers down the side. So yeah, I've gone for Jaden Daniels 2-1. I just think this is the game he's going to run a lot for me. I think that he's going to need to scramble around. Do you like that one at that price?
Yeah. Again, big price for him, and we know he's a mobile QB. And like you said, it could easily be misdirection with faking the handoff to Robinson, and we know that mobile quarterbacks can do that. Yeah, again, 2-1 is pretty good. We also saw Matthew Stafford obviously have a couple of rush attempts last week, and if he can get a little bit, then I'm sure Jaden Daniels can at some point. And yeah, it's all on the line now. Like who's really that fussed if you're tasting the game and a QB gets injured? He's got 5-6 months to try and recover for next season, and this is it. So you would hope that he would risk potentially getting smashed to find the end zone.
Yeah, agreed. Cool. I'll go next for our best bets. This could be any bet in this game. I've gone for an Eagles bet, the only Eagles bet of the section. So I've gone with Saquon Barkley over 23.5, longest rush of the game. He's hit this in 7 of his last 8 games that he's played. I think he had a 70, was it a 70 and a 50 last week? I think it's 200 yards against this team. He beat this total in both the games against the Commanders. And to be honest, I was surprised it wasn't longer. Again, they will sell out to stop the run, but sometimes when you sell out to stop the run, you'll see what happened to the Rams last week. Whereas if he makes one person miss, there's no one behind them to help fill the gap. So for me, I think with Jalen Hurts' injury, it'll be a very big Saquon Barkley game. I like his receiving yards as well, but I think over 23.5 longest rush yards for me is a best bet in this one.
Yeah, I would be on. Sorry, sorry, a bit of lag today. I was on. I will be on the receiving yards for him. I think it's 12.5 for him, and I'll probably go for receptions as well. I'd imagine it'll be over 2.5. So I will be going for both of those, and yeah, I maybe just go for the triumvirate and go for the longest rush as well, because I do think that all of those will probably hit. The Commanders did sell out to stop him in the second half of the game where Jalen Hurts went out, and they did stop him on the ground. So if they, as you say, if they do that, then it's the passing game, like fake the handoff to him and then get him to catch the dump off instead. So definitely don't mind that. I've gone for a similar one on the other side of the ball. I've gone for Austin Eckler over 45.5 combined yards. Again, I was tempted to go with receiving yards. I think he's 25.5 or 24.5 just for receiving yards. He hit that last week for me. That was one of my bets from last week. But he's been rushing the ball as well. So I think getting 20 on the ground as well as 25 through the air is perfectly reasonable. And if he breaks one, then we're kind of sorted either way there. So yeah, I went for combined yards for Austin Eckler.
Yeah, I like that. I think he was 24.5 on William Hill for receiving. When I looked on Sky Bet, he was 22.5. So I do like 22.5. I do like 22.5 receiving yards. But yeah, I do like yours as well. Him and Ertz basically are the passing game at times in terms of the long drives. Now, McLaurin gets the big plays, but this team has a lot of long drives. They have a lot of 4th down conversions, and Eckler and Ertz basically get all the catches on 4th down, it feels like. So, yeah, I like that pick. And like you said, all it takes is one linebacker to miss a tackle, and the 5-yard run is a 15-yard run. You've got like 3/4 of your bet immediately for him. Yeah. So, yeah, I do like that. I think for them to win the game, which is what we're hoping, and say they can keep it close, Eckler will probably have to have a big day. So I think it correlates quite nicely as well. For Tim's selection, he's gone with the other running back. He's gone with Brian Robinson. If Brian Robinson has a bad game or gets injured after 1 minute, Tim is having a terrible Sunday. He's gone for Brian Robinson over 9.5 rushing attempts. Similar to what we said earlier, actually. That is a low line for a starting running back in the playoffs. My only concern would be Eckler's carries have upped in the big games where they're not worried about his health as much now. And Jaden Daniels does throw it a hell of a lot per game. But I would say if they have any sort of early lead, then Brian Robinson over 9.5 rushing attempts is a good shout. I personally probably wouldn't bet it, but I could see Tim's thinking, because this is way shorter than you'll get most starting running backs. I just think that the Commanders are a bit of a different team with Eckler and Jaden. But what do you think about 9.5 for him?
Yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't back it personally, but he has done it. He did it in both the playoff games and he did it in both the regular season games against the Eagles. He's actually only gone under it 3 times this year out of 15 games by the look of it. So, yeah, it's a low line. It would help them kind of control the game a little bit more. And if we think that the Eagles are probably going to run it a lot, that's probably going to slow the game down, so the Commanders might run it a little bit more as well. He hasn't been very efficient against the Eagles, which is something I'd be a little worried about. He's only averaging about 3 yards a carry this year. But as long as Tim gets his 10 carries, he will not care about
that. No, 10 carries. If he gets 10 carries in the first half or something, Tim will be a very happy man. So
yeah,
there we go. Cool. For anyone watching, I'm going to put the bets we picked for the NFC game on the screen. So in terms of the line, we've all gone for the Commanders +6. We've all gone for the over 47.5. In terms of touchdown, Tim's gone for Brian Robinson 21-10. Adam's gone for Zach Ertz against his former team 3-1, and I've gone for Jane Daniels over 2-1. And again, I wouldn't be going anything less than that if you can find 2-1. And then best bet, Brian Robinson over 9.5 rushing attempts is Tim's pick. Austin Eckler over 45.5 rushing and receiving yards combined is Adam's. And I've gone for Saquon Barkley over 23.5, but Adam's got 25.5, which means the line might
and it's 24.5 now on 365. So I'm not sure what I've gone with the numbers there, but yeah,
I still go over 24.5. That's fine. 24.5. So all right.
The Eckler line's gone up a yard since earlier as well. He's now 25.5 for receiving and 46.5 for both of them. So yeah, all the lines have shifted from about an hour ago.
Everyone's copying our selection.
They knew what was coming.
They did. Was there any other bets then? So we mentioned that's like our best bets. Did you have any other shouts at all for the NFC?
It's all about whether I trust the Diami Brown resurgence, really, because his receiving yardage is still fairly low, still 42.5, and he's been kind of the main man over the last couple of weeks. Quinyon Mitchell, I think, is missing out, so you're down to wide receiver 2 and wide receiver 3 for the Commanders. Get a nice, easier matchup, because Play, I'd imagine, will stick with McLaurin and probably shut him down. So I wouldn't be surprised if Zacchaeus or Diami Brown has a good game, and it's been Diami Brown the last couple of weeks, so it's decent odds for him. But then I look at that last regular season game, and even had Jamison Crowder scoring a couple of touchdowns and Zacchaeus. Yeah. So it's one that I avoided just because I think they do have a couple more options that they might go to if it works. And yeah, I think that was the only other one I looked at for this game. Saquon Barkley, 124.5 is rush yards, which, again, I think you'll probably get it, but there's no way in hell. I think I heard earlier that's the highest line that there's ever been for a running back. So, yeah, not one I'd bet, but wouldn't be surprised.
Do you want to guess what his rush and receiving combined is?
If it's 124, 147, why not?
Oh, that's exactly right. 147.5.
Yeah. By the way, I kind of figured
AJ Brown also has a rush and receiving yard total, which I don't get on Sky Bet, because I'm like, when does he ever rush it? Unless I've missed something. But when does AJ Brown ever rush it?
Okay. Okay. So AJ Brown rushing and receiving, 60.5. Yeah. Have you seen his receiving yards?
No. What's his receiving yards?
64.5.
AJ Brown's rush and receiving yards on Sky Bet is 58.5.
Okay. So we've got a nice middle there. We've got a middle of 6 yards.
Yeah, we have. We'll take that one when we're not live on YouTube. But there we go. That is an interesting, interesting line for us that we've discovered. I've got a couple of others I'll mention. We haven't done loads of Eagles bets. I do think Dallas Goedert could have a big game here. Commanders a bottom 3 team in the league against tight ends. His receiving yards, again, this is earlier, so shop around, but 39.5 is what I got earlier. Receptions is 3.5, and it's still 3.5. I just checked, and I think he's 7-2 anytime. I'm not sure I'd be bothered with the anytime personally, but receptions and receiving yards, I think Dallas Goedert is a really good shout as well. I've already mentioned the Eckler line. He's 2.5 receptions. I think the over 2.5 is a good bet. But the last one is Commanders over 20.5. So last week they were 23.5 team total. Obviously the defense is a lot better for the Eagles. They're over 20.5. Obviously everyone knows that's 3 touchdowns. Who's listening? We can do the maths apart from extra points. I do think that's a good bet. I know we're very pro Commanders, but I think even if they lose, they'll score 17, and I think that's a bad day for them. So I think over 20.5 is a good shout.
Yeah, I mean they scored 18 in the loss earlier in the season against the Eagles, so they can put up points against this Eagles team, and obviously you're nearly there. Saquon Barkley receptions over 2.5 is 7-5. I definitely want to be taking that one, and you can get 7-2 for 4 receptions as well. So I'd probably go on both of them, to be honest.
Yeah, him and Eckler, I could see having loads of catches between them and combined in this game.
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. Let's go away from the NFC then. Go to the better conference with the better game that Adam's not going to enjoy talking about, I'm sure. That is, of course, the Bills at the Chiefs. Mahomes versus Allen, part 9, I believe. And the Chiefs have eliminated Josh Allen in every playoffs bar one. And the other time was in the snow against your team, with the famous Joe Burrow spinning around pass that everyone raved about happened. These two teams are obviously big rivals. It's a huge game. We've got the 1 and the 2 seed. In terms of the line, it's Chiefs -1.5, and then the under/over is now 48.5. This has been bet up. People are betting the over, or were betting the over from last week on this game. Before the season, by the way, just out of interest, you can obviously look at totals ahead. And the Chiefs game, Bills game, was 52, and it's come right down to 48.5 when they're actually playing each other in the big game that matters. I think you like the Bills. I know you don't like the Chiefs. So how are you feeling about this game in general? You're not even going to watch it because it's 11:30 kickoff, I think.
My intention will be to watch it. I will definitely be trying to stay up, but I'll be honest, I fell asleep about 12:30, 1 o'clock in the late game last week, and it may well be the same here. We'll see how it's going, obviously, and we'll see how the early game goes, because I've got a fairly busy weekend, so staying up and getting through all that will be a little bit more difficult. Yeah, I definitely prefer the Bills. They're definitely the more exciting team. And obviously the Bengals and the Bills have kind of got a bit of a relationship. This Bills resurgence all happened because of Andy Dalton and Tyler Boyd. So it wouldn't have happened without them. So the Bills, I do have not a soft spot. I do not hate them. I'll put it that way. They're a team. They're a team that I don't hate. Josh Allen's difficult not to like. He doesn't seem as arrogant as a lot of the rest of them, but he can do it all, and he's a bit more of a Superman. He's obviously can run the ball well, can throw the ball well, and he's done well with this team because I think they are in a little bit of a rebuild with the wide receiving group, but the coaching, they've obviously lent on the run game. They've got a few decent running backs that they've been using well, and then Josh Allen, and frankly, it's made them a good team because you can't just shut down one person. They've got options all over. So yeah, they are definitely fun to watch. Obviously, I won't say a huge amount about the Chiefs. They're a defense first team, and it's worked well for them. Doesn't make games fun to watch for me personally. I'd imagine if I was a fan, then I'd be raving about it. But yeah, it's just not that fun. I won't mention the rest because I didn't watch the game last week, so I will not say anything about that. But obviously, the narrative is there, and it'll be picked up on by everyone every time there's a flag going the way that we all expect the flags to go. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I think it'll be another heavy dose of Kelsey. Trying to get Worthy going, but he was obviously shut down well last week. The middle of the Bills line is at least the linebackers are pretty decent, and the secondary isn't too bad, so they might be able to shut it down a little bit. But Mahomes is the best quarterback probably that there's ever been. So I don't really like backing against him, despite the fact it's one of those like I hate the guy, but God, I respect him kind of thing. It's difficult not to respect how good he is, but yeah, I'd rather the Bills win.
Yeah, he's your Tom Brady, basically, when everyone didn't like Tom Brady.
Pretty much, yeah.
For a while, yeah. I think most people want the Bills to win. All I know is most people definitely don't want Eagles and Chiefs to win. So if the Commanders win, more people will be fine with the Chiefs. They won't care as much. If the Eagles win, everyone will be like, we need the Bills to win because it'll be the worst Super Bowl of Chiefs Eagles. So yeah, I'm not going to go into the refs either because I wrote loads of stats down. I was like about how to disprove the whole fake narrative, but then I was like, that's just not a fun podcast for people to listen to, especially because they all probably hate the Chiefs apart from me. So we're not going to go into that. But yeah, I think this should be a close game as well. So I think even if it's not entertaining that way people want it, like the maybe the Lions game was for 3 quarters last week. I think you'll still get a fourth quarter where it's nail biting, which I think for some people is, better than a blowout at least. Which I'd be surprised if either of these games personally is a blowout. Let's go through the line first. It's a bit different this game. We've kind of all picked slightly different combinations across the board. So I'll start with Tim because he's on an island, which surprised me. He's gone for Bills plus 1.5. I thought you'd go for that as well, but he's gone for Bills plus 1.5. Didn't back them last week. Just no faith in them against the Ravens last week, and now he's turned back. I think this is more of an anti-Chiefs bet, if I had to guess, on the Chiefs offense and the fact that Josh Allen's obviously playing extremely well. It's a coin toss game for most people, and he thinks the Bills are gonna do it, which to be fair, chances say they should. The fourth time they've tried, so I think that's a safe bet. But me and you have gone the other side, mate. And why don't you tell us why? Because I'll talk about my team all day, but you tell us why, even though you don't like them.
Again, I can't not back the Chiefs in the playoffs. Like they win playoff games, they win the important games, and they beat Josh Allen, as you said. Josh Allen versus Mahomes is 4-4. All 4 of those losses have been postseason. So yeah, it's one of those that I can't not go for that. Despite the fact that I want it to happen. Again, as you say, it should be fairly topsy-turvy. It should be a pretty close one. And we've seen all season that the Chiefs win close games. So yeah, I'd rather it was a bigger spread. If there was anything, maybe if you want to tease it, go for tease the. I suppose it's teasing cease through 0. You don't really want to do that. So yeah, I wouldn't be going with that. But yeah, I just think the Chiefs are unfortunately probably the more complete team, and that defense has been shutting everyone down all year. So why would it not happen again here? Admittedly, obviously the regular season, fair play. The Bills did it, but this is where the pressure counts, and some QBs have it, some QBs don't.
Yeah, agreed. Especially in terms of the defense, and I sent some stats around in this Chiefs group chat where in the regular season, I think it was the Chiefs are 9 touchdowns against the Bills and 7 interceptions, which is obviously terrible. And in the playoffs, they're like 11-1, so 11 touchdowns to 1 interception. So they just play completely different in the playoffs. Same with the Bills, actually. They pass the ball a lot more in the playoffs than they do when they play the Chiefs in the regular season. They run it a lot. They don't turn the ball over as much in the regular season. They win the games in the regular season. Then it comes to the playoffs, they end up being forced to pass it a bit more and then make some mistakes. So we'll see if they can stick with the run, because last week that's all they did. Josh Allen barely threw the ball last week. They dominated. I know they kind of opened the game back up for the Ravens in the second half because they were a bit too conservative. But in the first half, they just ran the clock on the Ravens really well, which I think they'll be doing. But no surprise, I've gone for the Chiefs minus 1.5 as well. I actually do like the double teaser though, if you can get it, of the Bills up to the 6 point gets you to 7.5. If you do the Commanders as well, you get to 13. I think that's a relatively good bet, especially if you think the Bills can win, but you just don't want to risk the Mahomes last drive win. You get to cover and go Commanders and Bills. But in terms of the normal line, I've just gone for Chiefs minus 1.5. Like I said, I think it'll be a close game. I kind of just back Mahomes to play better, I think, than Josh Allen in the big game. And to be honest, I probably back Spags to coach better than McDermott. They're the two that call the defensive plays, and I think Spags is probably the best play caller. I know Lou Anarumo is probably up there 2 years ago, but I think apart from him, it's Spags now as the best by far in the NFL, and I think that'll probably be the difference in the game. But I do think they need Kelsey to have a good day, or else otherwise it could be a bit of a slog in terms of this game. Cool. Let's go under over then. Why don't you go first? Because you've gone the same with Tim for this one.
Yeah, me and Tim have both gone for the under. I assume his thinking is the same as me. Again, the Chiefs are a defense-first team now, and they have been for a couple of years. So I do think that they will be able to slow down the Bills, and then we've seen that the Chiefs will. Well, they seem to struggle finishing drives this year. Obviously, Butker will get probably quite a few field goals, and then you're relying on Allen having an off day, and he does have off days in big games against Mahomes. So I wouldn't be surprised. Obviously, the Bills are coming in with the fewest turnovers of the season, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do a kind of Jared Goff and have a for a 4 turnover game if Allen has to chase the game a little bit. I do think things are very different from where they were last year. I think Allen has definitely matured and he's become a far better quarterback because of it. But I do, it's one of those like Lamar, and until he does it, I won't trust it. And Lamar in big games when they really need it doesn't happen, and Allen in the biggest game of his season, it doesn't happen. So yeah, I do worry that there could be turnovers, and obviously that slows down points. And yeah, I think that the Chiefs will be the Chiefs, and that slows down points.
Yeah, I'm just terrible at finding good field goal lines, but I think you could get some good money on Butker's overs in any playoff game, but especially this game.
Yeah, his point line is 7.5. So you probably want the over on that one if it goes away, I think.
Yeah, I think you want the over on that anyway. Even if they score touchdowns, you might get 3 points just from extra points potentially.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think good shout. Yeah, I've gone for the over really just because my numbers kind of tell me to go for the over. Again, we've tried to put these in for this week. We don't normally put the total in for every game. I think I would prefer the first half total, which is 24 plus, well, 23.5 or 24.5, depending where you can get it. 24.5 is better odds. I actually prefer the over in the first half. I think that it's been over in the first half 9 out of the last 10 times these two teams have played. The Chiefs are incredible for unders in the second half. Nearly every Chiefs game goes under the second half total. And I think that, depending if the Chiefs are winning, it'll be under second half. That's how it always goes. So if they're losing, there might be a chance of it going over. But for me, I do like the over in the first half. And I think the over in the game is the right pick as well, just because I do think the Chiefs are very conservative on offense every year, but in the big playoff games, Andy Reid goes for it on fourth down. Mahomes passes it way more than he does in the regular season. If there's one game where they're just going to throw it a lot more and go for it on fourth down, it'll be this game. So I think that will lead to it being like a 50, 51 point game. I don't think it's going to be a Lions Commanders 70 point game. I think 51, 52 sort of total for me in that one. Cool. Let's go on to touchdown scorers. I've gone with someone in that game from my team. I've gone for Travis Kelce, 5-4. Basically, I wanted to go Josh Allen, but for reasons that'll be clear in a minute, I didn't want us to all have two similar picks. And again, I was debating between James Cook and Travis Kelce, and I've just gone with the homer pick, Travis Kelce, to try and catch Jerry Rice in all these playoff records. He played extremely well last week. He was wide open in the red zone twice, got the ball once. And again, just in the big game, Mahomes is going to throw it to him. I really wanted to say D-Hop, but me and Adam have just been burnt so many times with D-Hop because every time I pick him, it doesn't happen. And then the next game, it happens. So I've gone with Travis Kelce at 5-4.
Yeah. Again, I thought the odds were too short on most of the people I wanted, and Kelce was one I looked at. I thought we might have got more than 5-4 on him. So it is fair. Like, to be honest, the price is probably about where it should be. But yeah, I was just hoping for a little more because he was the one I was going to go for before I'd looked at yours. But I decided to just stick with what I knew and went with Josh Allen again. Josh Allen over even money. I'm probably going to bet him. He's going to get the goal line carries, and he is the most likely to score for them. James Cook is around same odds. I think he was a little bit higher actually, so you can probably go for him if you wanted. But with the Chiefs, I couldn't find anyone I liked at the prices. Even Noah Gray, I think, was only 9-2 or 11-2. He wasn't anywhere near as big as I was hoping. Ray Davis, though, who scored for me last week, he was 11-2 last week. He's 7-1 this week. So yeah, he was tempting.
My friend won. Can't believe I have not told you this. My friend from work won like 120 quid because you said Ray Davis. He literally was doing like multiple touchdown scores that we recommended, and the Ray Davis one won him 120 quid because the odds were absolutely nuts. So yeah, I forgot to mention that to you. So yeah, Ray Davis, what's he this week? Has they shortened his odds after one touchdown?
No, 7-1 this week.
There we go.
So, even bigger.
Ray Davis as well.
I will probably have him in a couple of bets. I'll probably have him with Ertz. Like, if I do him with Ertz, it's going to be 30-1 plus, I'd imagine. So I can never figure out how to work out odds. So when I do multiples, I know Tim can do them off the top of his head. But yeah, 7-1 and a 3-1. To me, that seems like it should be 21-1, but they normally bump up a bit. So yeah, 30-1 ish for them two. I'll probably go for. Yeah, he actually went off 13-2 last week. He actually went higher coming up to game time. So yeah, I did have a couple of quid on him last week. So yeah, he was the one I looked at a bigger odds just mainly because of last week. But I can't trust Worthy, I can't trust Hopkins, I can't trust Brown for the Chiefs. So at the odds they are, especially if maybe if they have 5, 6, 7s, I'd have a bit, but yeah, they're not. And yeah, Ray Davis was the highest one. Obviously, with the Bills, as I was saying earlier, they had I think 13, 14 players who caught a receiving touchdown in the regular season. So it's very difficult to pick who's going to do that each week. Sakir should be the one. He is the main target for him in the slot. But yeah, again, Chiefs defense is quite good. So I think I'd probably choose Ray Davis at big odds, but yeah, me and Tim are both gone. Josh Allen, 21-20.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to go for. But really, looking at the sheet, we had so many of the same picks. It could have been an awful week.
Yeah.
So I've tried to mix it up, and we'll see if I've outsmarted myself and I'll get screwed with maybe, I don't know, Noah Gray and Peyton Hendershot catching a touchdown, Travis Kelce not catching a touchdown. But
would not surprise me.
No. I actually think Worthy is likely to be in and around the red zone, but the odds he's dropped considerably since randomly, like 4 weeks ago, he was 4-1, and now 5 weeks ago, and now he's 2-1. Is the best price, so yeah, it's just a little bit too short. If I wanted an exciting bet as a fan, KC defense 7-1. And Nico Remigio is the punt and kick returner, 35-4-1. I don't hate those as a bit of fun as a Chiefs fan, because you're right. The Chiefs players' odds are pretty bad. Noah Gray being down to 11-2. And I think the other one was who was the other one? Yeah, Pacheco, who doesn't hardly get any carries anymore. You think they'd put his odds right up, and I think he's still 23-10, and he doesn't barely get a carry anymore in the red zone. So yeah, there's not a lot Chiefs side, I don't think, for you to bet on touchdown wise. Cool. Let's go on to best bets then. Why don't you go first, mate? Who have you got for what have you got for your best bet in this game?
Yeah, I was just checking the stats on it. Yeah, he had 12 carries against the Chiefs in a regular season. He had 10 last week in a must-win game. Obviously, I'm going to assume there was a few kneel downs in that, which helped. Josh Allen over 9.5 rush attempts. He didn't run that much last week, and he didn't run well. He only averaged a couple of yards per carry, but obviously, the Chiefs game earlier in the season, he had that fourth down touchdown, which he ran in from middle. Well, I was going to say middle of the field, it's from 26 yards, but felt like it was a lot further out. And yeah, he had 12 carries in that game. Again, it's a must-win game, and quarterbacks generally rush more in those games. And Josh Allen's one of the better rushing quarterbacks. You know, he's probably going to get the push kind of thing, or whatever they've called the Bills version. At the goal line, which is going to be an automatic 1 or 2 carries if he gets stopped. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty decent line. I was expecting it to tick over 10, to be honest. So I was happy with that one.
Yeah, I like that one as well, especially in this game. I was surprised last week's was as bad as it was for him. I thought he'd have run it even more, but again, that just makes him more fresh to do it this week. So I think that's a really good shout. We've all gone for rushing bets actually. I've gone for Mahomes, and I was lying on Virgin Bet and whatever the random Irish bookie is that I've forgotten, was 3.5. I've just looked. It's 4.5 now. So I'd still take it, but I've gone for Mahomes over 3.5 rushing attempts. Kneel downs are included. So if you do think the Chiefs are going to win, that's always a good bet, as long as the game doesn't end in a field goal or something. But yeah, his line a year ago was 6.5 when these two teams played in the AFC divisional round. And then basically because they spied him so much in that game, and they spied him a lot in the regular season game, and he just hasn't run it as much in the regular season this year. It's been his least rushing total. They've dropped the line quite considerably to 4.5 now. And I just think this is the game where he'll run it around a lot. Now, if they do spy him, you might get in trouble. But even if you get a spy, if he just tries to run away from a sack and gets kind of sacked, as long as he's far enough out of the pocket, they'll class that as a rush attempt. So, yeah, I think Mahomes will get 4, 5, 6 easy. And I think if the game opens up and the Bills score points quite a lot, you could see Mahomes get quite a lot more than 4.5, because I think he'll just be desperate to keep the game alive. So, yeah, I just think in the playoffs he's a bit of a different animal when it comes to running. So I've gone for Mahomes. And Tim's gone for Xavier Worthy over 2.5 rush yards, which I found quite a funny total. He's had one, I think Tim said he's had one rushing attempt in every game except for the games where they played against the AFC West, obviously in division where they know each other a lot. and he did have a rushing attempt in the Bills game. He was obviously traded technically by the Bills to the Chiefs in the draft, and we do know Andy Reid enjoys those slight intricacies where he'll then give probably Worthy 2 random trick plays in this game just for fun. So I think that's a good shout. Your only risk is the standard one time a game where a Chiefs player gets caught 5 to 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage and gets tackled. That is your only risk here, that the first rush goes for -6, and then you're then like, oh no, this is a bad bet. But he could also take the first one for 30. So I quite like it. I was surprised the rush yard was as small as it was.
Yeah, hard to argue with the numbers that Tim gave us. Yeah, I'm staring at the rushing attempts again, the Chiefs Bills game. Weirdly, Mahomes didn't have any carries in the Chiefs Bills game in the regular season, but as you say, it's different in the playoffs, and we've said that all the way through. It's game on the line, it's body on the line. So yeah, and Mahomes, if it does get a bit more of a shootout, he will rush and he'll slow down near the boundaries to draw some flags, won't he? So he might have a few rush attempts.
Can we bet on flags over flags? We're good.
Only.
That'd be quite funny if you could actually do that, and then and loads of people did it for this weekend. But there we go. Cool. Let's summarize our picks on that game, and then we'll quickly mention any others, and then we'll get everyone out of here. So for this game, line wise, I've gone for the Chiefs -1.5. So is Adam, and then Tim's gone for the Bills +1.5. In terms of the total, Tim and Adam have both gone under 48.5, and I've gone for the over 48.5. Touchdowns, Tim and Adam have both gone for Josh Allen at 21-20, and I've gone for Travis Kelce at 5-4. And then our best bets are all rushers. Tim's gone for Xavier Worthy over 2.5 rush yards. Adam's gone for Josh Allen over 9.5 rush attempts. And I've gone for Patrick Mahomes over 3.5 rush attempts, but you might have to get 4.5 just looking around what the bookies are doing. Everyone's betting all the overs since we've updated the doc, which is a little bit annoying. Were there any other bets in this game you wanted to mention?
No, not in this one. No, I don't think I had anything extra on this one. Again, I struggle a little bit in the Chiefs games because I don't like betting the unders, but realistically, you should probably go with the unders against the other team. I think Khalil Shakir, his receiving line was 4.5, I think. So I'd probably go with that one. He is Josh Allen's kind of favorite and most reliable target. And yeah, as we mentioned earlier, Butker over 7.5 points is probably a decent one. So yeah, that was 2 that I would probably go for.
Cool. Yeah, mine ironically are overs after saying don't go for overs. Josh Allen over 20.5 completions again. I'm going back to the well of the first game. He finished on 20, but they were beating the Broncos by 30 points. Even if they beat the Chiefs, I'd imagine it's by 3 to 10, not 30, hopefully. So I think Josh Allen will throw it more times in that game. So I quite like the over on that. And then, yeah, you just mentioned Khalil Shakir. His line's 55.5, and I don't mind that. I think if Trent McDuffie's guarding him, it'd be harder. But if the Chiefs do what they've done all season, they leave McDuffie on the outside, I think Shakir could have a really big day. And I think 55.5 is good. And then my homer pick of the week is Xavier Worthy over 48.5 receiving yards. Just because, yeah, he's getting 8 targets a game. So I think just catches a couple of them, we could get some big plays, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Cool. That's it then for our championship weekend preview. We're not quite sure what the schedule will be like for the Super Bowl, whether we do 1 or 2 shows, one where we go props and halftime and national anthem and Gatorade and all the ridiculous stuff, and then maybe we do one on the game. We'll let everybody know what the plan is. But yeah, please remember to follow us at F10Y. Please follow Adam as well at Touchdown Tips. I assume you're going to have some article to win everyone loads of money this weekend, mate. Is that the plan?
Well, yeah, again, finish writing that tonight, get out tonight, because let's say I've got a busy weekend. So I'll probably schedule it for tomorrow afternoon. Obviously, both the games are Sunday, so a little bit of time. And yeah, we've obviously half the lines have moved already. So I guess the earlier I write that, the better, because they'll have all changed soon.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, please enjoy the weekend, everyone. We've only got 3 NFL games left, so try and make the most of it. Remember to gamble responsibly as well, and we'll be back for our Super Bowl preview. Go Chiefs.